questions actually about communication, but I really feel like that last session in particular, Pastor John, you dealt with that. But there is one here, I think, when sort of dreams, I guess, collide. And I'll give it to you, Pastor John. So this one is, my husband is considering moving away for a time to finish the police academy. We have 3 kids and a 7, and I rely on him, but he needs to go away to complete his training and be gone for some time. Am I being selfish for wanting him around and to just deal with what we have?
I think wanting him around is normal. Don't condemn yourself for that, but also recognize that there's a price to pay in going the journey that you need to do together. And if the 2 of you sit down and you pray about it, you talk about it, and you discover that really what's the best for you is that he goes away and it's going to be a tough time, then come up with a plan. How are you going to survive this time? It's not just saying, okay, I agree, go ahead, go, and then no plan. Come up with a plan so that you're feeling better about, I can do this, but also recognize that sacrifice is always pays. Sacrifice, I mean, a great marriage is going to cost, and it's going to be difficult, and there's some difficult seasons, and if you go through them wisely, with the right precautions, like having accountability, having a plan in place, the end result is you're stronger than you were before. So I can't say to that question, I can't say yes or no, one way or the other, but I can just say you need to communicate and come up with what's the answer and a plan.
You know, we have lots of military families in the church, and you might have a husband or a wife that's deployed, and you know, having a good support network around you, and that's part of having that plan, but it can be done. And when it comes to a career and a calling, whether that's in law enforcement or whatever it is, you're right, there are sacrifices that need to be made, but it can be done. We've got brave men and women, you know, that are serving our country and upholding our freedoms, that families are separated and they're making it work, and we're doing all we can as a church to help support them. So, you know, it can be done, but you're right, you shouldn't feel bad about feeling that way, because it's the way we're wired up.
Sally, did you want to comment on that as well?
No, other than but I think if a plan is made and then difficult places happen for both of you, then you just, I said this earlier, this little mantra that we have, never complain about what you permit. So then if you've already made a decision, if you collectively make a decision, and then you just realize it gets tough, but you do whatever it takes. You can't, like, we just decide, is this going to be tough, or maybe a tough year for this or whatever, but we're both in, so we're not going to complain about it, we're not going to whine about the difficulties, we're going to face them together as a team and not polarize it. We're going to come together rather than pull apart, because you have to have a plan, a contingency plan, almost like when it gets tough, how are we going to handle that? Because otherwise it pulls you apart.
Even to the place where you married him knowing this, don't complain about what you permit. But if you make the decision, I'm not going to complain, it's amazing how much easier it is to actually navigate a plan and make it work.
Good. Well, I think we have time for one more, and then Pastor Bill gets you to close it out. And yeah, keep in mind with all of this, once we receive these texts coming in, we don't know specifically the ins and outs of your circumstance with 140 characters. So, if you, or 150, oh, it's changed. Wow, technology. But I say that just so you know, if you feel like maybe it's your question, it hasn't been answered sufficiently, let me encourage you to maybe speak to a pastor here or a leader here to go the next step, because we don't know the details. We just got a few characters, and you will need more answers, I think, to your questions. But Pastor, I want to give this one to you. I think it's very pertinent to us here in Orange County, but my wife is never satisfied in that she always wants more. We live in a nice home, but she wants to live in a much more expensive home. And it's because she has friends who are married to rich guys, and she wants us to keep up with the Joneses.
Housewives of Beverly Hills. No, I'm being cheeky. It's a big show in Vancouver. We now have the Housewives of Vancouver. I think that it's a tricky place, because I think that it's a part of our humanity that is always looking for something more, and so often saying no to that voice inside. Again, that's a teamwork thing, of just deciding when is enough, and listen. without just feeling frustrated all of the time. Just come to a plan as a couple, talk about it as a couple. You know, I can tend to be that way as well, think, oh, you know, we've got this, but like I know we bought this beautiful home, and John was shocked that I wanted new furniture in it. He's like, really? Like, look at the view. It's okay if we have old furniture. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. And, but we kind of look at what we can do and what we can't do. But we're in the same way that we would make a decision about whether you travel, have to go away to study, we would make a plan about what is enough for our home. And deal with the hard issue. Often when we want something more, it's because something doesn't feel enough inside. And so, but that is something you can really work together as a couple as well. And John helps me, and then I help him as well in talking about where I'm happy, and we just make a plan about what our financial commitments are, and then we stick to them. And sometimes that means, no, you can't go shopping, or you can't travel, or whatever. It's okay, because we're on this team together.
Very good. Great answer. Well, would you join me just thanking our panel right now?
Why don't we give John and Helen another hand for sharing their hearts with us.